going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by Ross Baran. We got a slew of topics to get to here today, Ross. A lot to touch on. First and foremost, brother, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
I wish it was under better circumstances. I know we had a big week with you being on site, but kind of everything gets overlooked at this time because it's just a rough week for the PGA Tour, the world of golf in general. Wish it was under better circumstances, but otherwise, I'm having a pretty good night. Nice long weekend, but yeah, wish things were a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, what we're referring to is the tragic passing of 30-year-old PGA Tour player Grayson Murray on Saturday morning. It was announced, and he took his own life, unfortunately. And I think it's just a real important reminder to everyone out there that we start off the top of the show that you never know what anyone's going through, and it's okay to not be okay. And if you're someone out there who isn't feeling okay, please, please, please reach out to someone. Please go and talk to someone because they do want to hear what you have to say. People out there do want to help you. People out there do care. And on behalf of everyone from the On Tap Sports Network, please, please, please just reach out if you are having any sorts of struggles because yeah, man. The mood on Saturday at Colonial Country Club, I was very, very grateful to be out there and in the Fort Worth area to cover this tournament. But yeah, man, Saturday it was wonky. It didn't feel right. As soon as I found out the news when I was out there on the course, it just felt like the rest of the day didn't matter. And I know the tournament did still continue as to the wishes of Grayson Murray's family. They requested the tournament still go on because that's what Grayson would have wanted. And I'm happy that the PGA Tour commended their wishes, but it still just felt like the golf just didn't really matter. The biggest thing was that we just lost a man way too soon at the young age of 30, someone who had been vocal about his battles and struggles with depression and anxiety and all of that stuff. And Ross, what we were kind of talking about, but before we jumped on air here was from afar, this seemed like Grayson Murray was, on a little bit of a peak, right? He comes back to the PGA Tour. He gets his second win at the Sony Open, the first since, I believe, 2017 when he won the Barbasol. And then just a couple of weeks ago, 10th at Quail Hollow, seemingly playing some of his better golf. But I think it, again, just serves as a good reminder that things can look great from the outside, but you never know what's going on inside. So please just make sure you check on your friends and your loved ones at all times. Reach out because it really is important and you never know what someone is going through. So yeah, Ross, just really tough to hear about the tragic passing of Grayson Murray. And we talked, after he got that win in Sony about how awesome a moment that was. And man, just like seeing some of the videos that were shared on X, the video, this is almost making me tear up right now. The video of Grayson's caddy talking about over 18. He's like, I saw this putt. I saw Sam Stevens had it in regulation. I know it doesn't break as far right as it does. And why not us? And it's giving me goosebumps right now, man. So many great moments for Grayson Murray, gone way too soon at the tragic age of 30. Seeing, the countless stories of people, Smiley Kaufman, I thought that was one of the best stories that was shared out there. Smiley talking about how, Grayson had been there for him throughout his struggles, and Smiley obviously battled on the PGA Tour and didn't have results going his way for a long, long time. And he reached out to Grayson Murray after he got that win at Waialae Country Club saying, let's fucking go, brother. And Grayson, responded later on that night, which, as Smiley alluded to, most of the time, these guys have thousands of text messages. They'll get back to you in a couple of days. Grayson Murray was the type of guy to respond that night. And it wasn't really him responding about the win. He was responding to Smiley because Smiley talked to him earlier in the week about going back home for, I think it was his daughter's birthday party. And he just said, go have a good time, brother. And I think that just perfectly encapsulates like the soul and the heart that Grayson Murray had, man. So absolutely rest in peace, gone too soon. Thinking about everyone that was affected by this loss, the entire Murray family, everyone that was close to him, man. A very tough situation that unfolded on Saturday morning, Ross.
Yeah, extremely well said. And kind of like you said, the thing that makes this different for people like us is, Grayson being so vocal always about his mental health issues and challenges that he was having is the ship seemed like it was righting itself from what he'd been through. Like we kind of talked about prior, is big win to start the year. He already made almost $3 million on tour this year. Made the cuts at the majors, T10 at Quail, and it really just goes to show why mental health is so serious. Because despite all that success, that pain and that feeling was still there for him, which is unfortunate, and why we recommend that if you need to talk, go ahead and talk.
So,
There's always going to be someone that's there to listen. And we normally like to rip on coverage of things that the PGA Tour does. I did want to commend the PGA Tour
definitely.
for Saturday and Sunday, especially in the moment of the news breaking. They did a very, very good job in the moment, especially Jim Nance breaking it to the fans and the audience exactly what had happened, what the situation was. I really did commend that. That is something they got right, and they did very well throughout the weekend, just making sure that Grayson got his respects that were deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not tuned into the coverage, but I did see several clips shared of Jim Nance covering it, and just what a class act he is at all times, man. But with heavy hearts, um, we're going to move on for the rest of the show here. But once again, rest in peace to Grayson Murray. Thoughts and prayers go out to everyone that was affected by this loss. And again, a reminder to please go and seek help if you're having any sorts of struggles, because there are people out there who want to help. There are people that care about you. And it really, really is important, especially in today's day and age, as this is kind of just getting surfaced. Mental health and advocating for that is getting more prevalent on a day-to-day basis. So please make sure to reach out if you're struggling. Ross, we do have to move on, though. We do have other things that we need to talk about on today's show with heavy hearts. We will do so. Davis Riley comes away with this bad boy as the winner, and it was never even really close on Sunday, man, which I think is uber impressive. First off, to go Saturday, I told you before air, Ross, all 4 days in Fort Worth, it was like I was going through like a battle boss level of stages. Like Thursday, it was still hot, but it was 88. And then incrementally, it was just getting hotter. Friday was like 90. Saturday was 95. Sunday was 100. Saturday, though, there was no wind out there whatsoever. It was just super, super hot. The players battling through that. For Davis Riley, who really wasn't coming in with all that much form whatsoever, Ross, for him to have the lead after 36 holes at 10 under, for him to go and shoot 66 on Saturday to give himself that cushion over Scottie Scheffler, and then toe-to-toe with the Boogeyman on Sunday in the final pairing in his neck of the woods. And boy, let me tell you, do they love some Scottie Scheffler down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There were not many chances for Davis Riley on Sunday. He stood toe-to-toe, never backed down, had a little hiccup early. He parred the par 5 first and then bogeyed the second, but responded immediately with another birdie to kind of right the ship. And as Scottie didn't have his best stuff early either, he was never even really able to press Davis all that much. But still, regardless, the conditions were super tough. The wind was up 25, 30 miles an hour. Under those circumstances, for Davis Riley to go and basically cruise to victory, I mean, not really having any sort of sweat down the stretch. Super, super impressive for a guy. His second PGA Tour win, first as an individual, though. My favorite moment of the week, though, Ross, was Davis Riley's smile after firing up that Stingray, baby. It was like a kid on Christmas who just got like the brand new PlayStation 2 back in the day, and you can't wait to unveil that bad boy and go take it out and show it to your friends. That was Davis Riley in the Stingray after getting that win, Ross. What an awesome week for Davis.
Oh, I completely agree, and I think the funniest thing is during the coverage with Scottie, there was just a point where like Scottie struggled by Scottie level to get out of there with par, and Davis Riley just holds it, no problem, on to the next, and you could see Scottie just give him a look like, oh, it's gonna be one of those fucking days, huh?
Yeah,
Just
not backing down.
You got it, and you could just see the smirk on Scottie's face. And Scottie is so genuine, which I think is one of those things that people are so divided on. Is Scottie just has fun out there, and Scottie just, you could tell about midway through the round, like, he don't have it today by Scottie standards, doesn't have it today while he's still like in second place, but he's just looking at Davis Riley like, all right, it's clearly your day.
It definitely was Davis Riley's day, but I'll tell you what, it only took Scottie Scheffler 1.5 of his days to get in contention here. And I don't know how serious or how many people were suggesting that maybe Scottie was rusty or Scottie was shaky or anything, or that this wasn't an impressive performance based on him coming up short on Sunday, not really pressing Davis Riley. To me, it's kind of the opposite, if I'm being quite frank, Ross, because this tells me that Scottie Scheffler, and look, I know it wasn't, a signature event type of field or anything, but he is still good enough to be in contention when he has his best stuff for a day and a half. I mean, even on Saturday when he shot that 63, he just went lights out down the stretch. I mean, like, a round and a half of Scottie Scheffler is good enough, better than everyone, so much so that he still is going to finish T2 at this tournament, and 2 rounds he shot +3 combined. This guy's unbelievable. If anything, I'm more concerned.
100% agree that I think this just showed that even when he's human, he's still better than you.
He's unbelievable.
Like going into this swing of the major tournaments coming up, like with Memorial coming up, we got the U.S. Open coming. With all these just lined up over the next several weeks, I don't see how you just don't go place early bets on Scottie in every single one, because you're probably going to win.
He's the only caveat that non-Scottie backers have is that he hasn't ever won past April, and they're hanging on to that because I don't think that's going to last very long. This guy is just too good. But a quick reminder to everyone who's tuning in, if you're watching this right here, right now, make sure to go and jump into the YouTube feed so you can smash that like button for us. Do us a huge favor there. Also, go and comment as to your thoughts on Davis Riley's win, Scottie Scheffler's performance this season, and your early picks for this week's 2024 RBC Canadian Open. Rosso, I did have to be sure to bring up on the show today, though, that Colonial Country Club played to a T. I loved that place, man. It's the most simple golf course I've been to yet covering these tournaments for sure, but it's definitely my favorite. And I've been to Olympia Fields. That bad boy was excellent. I like Colonial better, man, because I think it's a good, simple reminder that you don't really need a ton of distance to make a course tough. You just need some thick rough. You need baked out fairways. You get some small green complexes and let natural elements come into play, man. The trees, the wind, just how firm and bouncy these greens were. I was so happy with how Colonial played throughout the week, man. And I think Davis Riley shooting 14 under in those conditions when no one else reached 10 is like jaw-dropping. Like, the fact that he combined to shoot 3 under on the weekend is unbelievable with how dry and how baked out that golf course was, Ross. I mean, first off, fairways aren't super wide, and they're drier than shit. So even if you are finding the fairway with your drive, the odds of you stopping it in there is not very good. It's basically a coin flip in terms of the lie you're going to get in the rough. The sand isn't very easy there. I was just so happy with how this course played. And I know we reiterate a lot on the show that we like to see true tough tests. That's exactly what Colonial Country Club provided. And I think, as we talked about before air too, as we're now a couple of weeks removed from the PGA Championship at Valhalla, we get this out of Colonial Country Club. We get a great tournament out of Quail Hollow as well. Outside of Rory going bananas, I don't think anyone crossed 12 under. I think it's throwing a little extra salt in the wound and just how bad Valhalla fell flat on their face in a major championship setup.
Well, I mean, especially, kind of like we covered last week in preparation for this tournament, Gil Hans went in and changed that course minimally.
Yep.
He went and he reset the course to the natural flow, but he took out some elements that people would use in their favor, where you need to hit the right shot there. One of the best examples that he talked about, I believe on Smiley's show, was that there was a bunker on one of the holes that was just everyone's target. People wanted to hit this bunker because if they got in, your second shot would be beautiful, even out of the bunker. He went and he took that fucker out because you need to hit a perfect shot, not go long, because if you go long, you're in the rough, and that second shot is dead now.
That's a great point that you bring up, and it's actually going to be prevalent for Hamilton Golf and Country Club this week. And I think it's a really wise way to make golf courses more difficult with the modern technology, because these fuckers are trying to hit it in the sand, brother. They're so good out of it because guess what? They can get under the ball. They can get spin on it. They can hit it up in the air. They can get it to stop whenever you want, but you take those out. Oh, well, now they got to play in the rough. Now it becomes a little bit more tricky around the green. Now you have to have creativity. Now you have to have shot shaping. And that's actually what's happened in the restoration to Hamilton Golf and Country Club hosting this week's RBC Canadian Open, which I think is just genius. And also, I know you can't really change this on golf courses now, but par 72s just get shredded by these boys, man. If you have 4 par 5s out there, these guys are so good, they're going to go get them. And there was only 2 par 5s at Colonial Country Club, obviously as a par 70 setup. One of them, 615 yards. It forces a 3-shot hole. So there's basically only one sort of gimme par 5 out there. And I think just all these things kind of factor into how you make a golf course difficult. With these guys are so good and technology is so good today. And I love to hear that kind of logic behind Gil Hans's restoration. And again, it wasn't a renovation. He didn't go and change a ton of things. He moved some greens around. He took out some bunkers. He brought in barrancas for the natural elements to bring in natural hazards for these guys to punish them for when they hit bad shots. And it did. It punished them for hitting bad shots this week. That's what golf courses should do.
Completely agree. And I think it's a perfect example for us to move on to this next tournament with basically the same thing happening. You want to call it a renovation. It's more of a restoration and making the course play like it was initially designed to play.
Absolutely. And we'll get to the RBC Canadian Open here in just a little bit, but we got a handful of topics that we're going to run through here real quick. First and foremost, though, we got to talk about our boy Harry Higgs, baby, going back-to-back, getting it done in the playoff with an eagle. He's just Mr. Eagle here lately, pulling eagles. He's the magician. He's pulling eagles out of the rabbit's hat these days, but so happy for Harry Higgs. And Ross, you told me an interesting tidbit prior to recording. If Harry were to pick up another win, he'd be back on the PGA Tour immediately.
So Harry Higgs would earn Battlefield promotion through the Korn Ferry Tour, which is an established rule that if you win 3 events over a calendar year on the Korn Ferry Tour, you automatically earn your PGA Tour card and are eligible for the next event. This has happened 7 times overall in the history of the tour. The most recent is Mito Pereira between 2020 and 2021 earned his card over a calendar year. The last player to do it in one true season was Wesley Bryan in 2016, won 3 to earn the promotion. But we actually now currently have 2 players that are potentially on the list to get this done, because there's also, I believe, Tim Whiting won 2 events in a row prior to the PGA Championship, and now Harry's won the last 2. Either one of those guys, or even both, if either one of them wins another event this season, they automatically get their card and are back on tour this season.
Definitely keep your eyes on what's going down in the Korn Ferry Tour, because we could see a couple of these guys get promoted here within the next couple of weeks. I don't know if you noticed this, Ross, but the guy that Harry Higgs beat in the playoff was Frankie Sappin, who, if you don't know about Frankie Sappin, not you, but I'm talking to the viewers, I was pretty sure you knew who Frankie Sappin was just double checking. Talking about young studs, that kid's going to be pretty good as well. He's very young still on the Korn Ferry Tour, but being in a spot like that against Harry Higgs, who is a seasoned veteran out there, I think that those are only opportunities that are going to bode well for a youngster like Frankie Sappin moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Frankie Sappin already got his own little fame this year when he fired off a 58 in one of the KFT events. And then I don't know if you saw it, but again, I know we're circling back a little bit. Shout out Harry Higgs. That post-round speech was just absolutely awesome. And the simplest message in the world that everyone could just take with them every single day is just be nice to someone every single day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well said by Harry Higgs after that win. And could have taken that speech in many different directions, and I was glad that he brought up what he did and went about it the way that he did. Class act out of Harry Higgs in a moment like that. Absolutely. Another young guy who's going to be coming up to the PGA Tour rather soon here, Ross, is Michael Thorbjornsen, another kid who, if you don't know, you're going to hear real soon because he's got the goods. I actually found out about him because of YouTube Golf, because he does, some stuff with big YouTubers who are out there and have a lot. I've seen him with Good and a bunch of stuff. So it's been fun to kind of follow him from afar these last couple of years. Is now officially the second player to graduate from PGA Tour University to receive his tour card following Ludwig Oberg. Dude, I mean, sorry to
Ever heard of him?
Dude, sorry to go on this tangent, but I can't believe Ludwig's only been out here for a year. It's unbelievable what he's already amassed in 1 year's time to become a household name. I don't feel like it would be crazy for Michael Thorbjornsen to be on that same path, man.
Yeah, I mean, he ought he also gets his promotion. He gets in some select events to start the year. I think it's like 10 events by the end of the year. A lot of them he's like an alternate, and as people withdraw, he's able to participate. But the cool thing is, this is only the second year we've had this happen. Obviously, we get product A with Ludwig last year. This year, we actually had two guys earn their card. But in a shocker, Gordon Sargent's going to return to Vanderbilt to play his senior year and has already been guaranteed a card for 2025.
Yeah. Interesting decision there by Gordon Sargent, but maybe not the worst thing in the world. Just another year of college experience. And there's something to be said about making sure you're ready when you go out there. And maybe there was something about him that just said, hey, this is going to be what's best for me. All three of those guys that we just brought up, though, Ludwig Oberg, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Gordon Sargent, three names that are going to be the future of golf moving forward. Get familiar if you don't already, people. What else happened this weekend, Ross? Oh, yeah, old Dick Bland won the Senior PGA Championship. Congratulations to Dick Bland, but then got none of the benefits other than the money that winners of the Senior PGA Championship get, Ross.
So the winner of this Senior PGA Championship automatically gets essentially a tour card on the PGA Champions Tour, which for those that aren't familiar is once you turn 50 years old, it's just a tour for people that just want to wind down but still play professionally. It's where we got Steve Stricker, John Daly, everyone playing basically every week now. That is the rule until it wasn't, because Richard Bland plays for Liv and the PGA Tour decided we're going to take our ball and go home. You can't play with us anymore.
Dude, so bogus, and in typical fashion, like we just saw at the PGA Championship, where good old CBS was not going to show Bryson DeChambeau unless Bryson DeChambeau forced them to. The post that the Senior PGA Tour made following Richard Bland's victory literally was just one sentence: your 2024 champion is Richard Bland. That was it. Steve Stricker the year prior. Congratulations to Steve Stricker, trophy emojis and all this stuff. Dude, it's such a joke. Just get the fuck over it. We're 3 years into this thing. Stop. No one cares anymore. The only people that care about what side you're on at this point in time is the PGA Tour, who are the only people who aren't getting the message that you're ruining your own game. You are getting in your own way.
It just pisses me off because it's very simple. There is a rule. There is a loophole that Richard Bland, because he won an event on the European Tour in the past 5 years, he's eligible to play in this tournament. He turned 50. He's 51. So he took his opportunity that he's recently won a European Tour event in the past 5 years, wanted to play in it because it fit his schedule. He won the damn tournament. But because he got his loophole and he got in there. What's the secondary loophole? If I win this tournament, I can play on the Champions Tour as much as I want. Until the PGA says, but no, you can't.
Yeah, it's all a load of hooey, man. I did want to bring this up to you, though. I feel like, obviously, Richard Bland is one of the younger senior tour eligible players, right? I feel like, though, there is something to be said. Like, the competition that Richard Bland is getting over on LIV is better than what the senior PGA Tour guys are getting. You know what I mean? Week in and week out. Say what you want about LIV fields. There's really no disputing that. LIV golf is better than the senior PGA Tour. That's common sense there.
Yeah.
Do you think, I don't know exactly if like LIV would be open to this. Do you think this, like, any older guys would be considering joining LIV because it could be better competition for them? It was just a random thought that I had, considering Richard Bland. Like, I know obviously he was on LIV before he won the senior PGA championship, but like, it's obviously upfront money guaranteed if they were to offer somebody, and it is better golf experience if you're still trying to remain competitive at this stage of your career. Does that make sense at all, or am I talking crazy?
I feel like they probably have had discussion about bringing some of those guys over, but I feel like the people you would be targeting and trying to bring over are like the true PGA Tour diehard guys that aren't going to cross that line. Like, people would pay to see Stricker. You know, Stricker's not going there, right? No. People would pay to see someone like Bernard Langer at 60 whatever years old fire off 72. Like, those guys aren't going to go do that, though. John Daly, maybe. You can maybe get John Daly to be like, fuck it, I'll go.
Dude, that would be sick. Low-key, that would be sick. I'd be there for that one, to be honest. Give me unfiltered Johnny boy back on the course.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that would be the problem with like that target market. I 100% think you could target those guys and you could get some of them with money to go over there. I just think the people you want are going to say no because of a lot of them have like unofficial board positions and like ties to the tour, like tour ambassadors, stuff like that.
And even Ryder Cup stuff.
Like Stricker and everything has the Ryder Cup, all tie-ins, all that stuff, where like he's not going to go do things like that. And I think those are the guys that they would really want it to get over there.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Very good point that you brought up. Just something I thought about the other day. Couple more things, though, before we get to the RBC Canadian Open. Pretty shocking news. Lexi Thompson announcing that she's going to be retiring at the end of the season. Ross, what were your kind of thoughts about that when you first heard the announcement?
So the only thing that's more shocking about Lexi Thompson retiring at the end of the year at age 29 is this weekend is Lexi Thompson's 18th Women's U.S. Open.
Nutty. So, quick math. She's been there since 11 years old.
Yes.
Wow. So, obviously, this is a tough kind of end of the year, especially for the LPGA Tour fans, who I'm sure are very sad to see Lexi go. And even as someone, I got to see her play at the Shriners in the fall, which was pretty cool. I got to be there and I followed her around for a couple of rounds, and she hung in pretty solid, man. I was really impressed with her composure and her game out there. She handled her own very well. I, honest to God, don't really know much about her history on the LPGA Tour, if I'm being quite frank, in terms of everything that she's won and her accolades. But I know, obviously, she's one of the premier players over there. So this has to be a pretty tough loss for them, I imagine, Ross.
I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand where, you know, last year was Michelle Wie West, where we've had Michelle Wie basically be even part of the PGA Tour since we were kids. I mean, we were looking at Michelle Wie was our age trying to make PGA Tour cuts.
I remember that.
Quite literally. And then she's playing into her 30s on the LPGA, where a lot of these women have been in the sport so long, they just want to settle down and have lives.
Yeah, right.
Where I mean, if you honestly think the perfect stat is Lexi right now. 18th US Open, she's 29. She's been doing this since she's 11. She wants to go out, live a little. I get it.
I totally get it. I totally get it too. I mean, 18 years under your belt. Yeah, sure, you're 29, but most people with 18 years under their belt, they're freaking exhausted and ready to get out of there and on the back half of their career. So while the age may be causing some concern to people, when you really look at the body of work that she's underwent in her professional golf career, it is a lot. So wishing Lexi all the best, though, the rest of the way here this season, and whatever her next endeavor may be. Was super cool, like I said, to be able to go and see her play. And what sounds like is going to be her final event ever on the PGA Tour. So pretty cool that I got to be there for that. Ross, also Women's U.S. Open going down this week. Give me a little bit of the rundown because you know better about this stuff than I do.
Lancaster Country Club, Pennsylvania. Emily's already got the hat and everything ready to go, but I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's gonna be Nelly or it's gonna be Rose Zhang. We'll see. Can Nelly do it again? Can Nelly do it again? And if not, is Rose the person to stop her like last time? So I mean, that's where really my 2 dogs in the fight. Either way, it's gonna be flipped back and forth on the TV, sharing with the boys, but it's one of their biggest. It's basically their biggest tournament of the year. It's their biggest major. It's the most historic. So anyone that's a true golf fan, go out there, give it a look, because the women hold their own. They will kick any of our asses any other day. So you need to go out there. They need their respect. And let's see if Nelly can stay on this run or if Rose can come steal another one from her.
Ross, I am very mad at myself that I forgot. I don't know. Did you see the clip today of the female professional golfer? I forget her name. She was rocking. Yeah, she was rocking the SIG, signing autographs. I'm like, that's my girl right there. I might have to lay a wager down on her just out of pure respect for the game.
No, absolutely. I sat there and I got vibes right. I got vibes right away. I was like, might have to throw a little bit out there just because that whole vibe just got a death stick in the mouth, just signing autographs, walking up and down. Did you see there's an even better clip from their event like 2 weeks ago where she rips a drive right down the middle, and as she starts walking down the fairway, she just got one and gone.
Oh, it's so classy. I love it. I am all here for it.
I love the vibes. I love the vibes.
Someone get her to sign their pack of SIGs. That thing could go for $1 zillion on the internet. Ross, I might have to hit, though. I might have to hit the old Nelly Rory double here, because as we get into this week's RBC Canadian Open at Hamilton Golf and Country Club up in Canada, obviously one of the longest running tournaments on the PGA Tour since 1904, and this is the 112th edition of it. But I opened the odds on, I was actually still in Texas, so I couldn't bet on anything when I opened the odds, unfortunately. But I did want to see what they were going to have Mr. Rory McIlroy at for his odds this week. And I texted Mr. Tony Marchese, the old Rory stan himself. I texted him on Friday saying, buddy, we could be on Rory for the first time together here. And then I saw Rory was plus 360, and I said, I can't bet at that number, so might have to do the old Rory Nelly double if I do want any piece of Rory this week, Ross.
Yeah, I honestly, that's the only way you'd get me to touch it with a 10-foot pole. You know, you and I have a very hard line on numbers that when people go below this, I am just going to play my field. For me, that's usually like 16 is my cutoff. Like I will hit 16. If you go to 15, you are a loser to me, and we're going to move on to the field. Yeah, I opened and I saw Rory this morning at the 360, and I just kind of giggled and was like, all right, next.
Not happening. Before we get to your picks, though, Ross, real quick, I do want to give a rundown to everyone who may be tuning in case you're still thinking about placing some wagers. You want to know a little bit about the course, who I think it's going to favor, how it's going to play. Quick rundown, because this is a restored Hamilton Golf and Country Club since we last saw it in 2019, where Rory went absolutely nuclear on Sunday, shot 61 to win by 7 strokes. The thing was absolutely never close. But as we talked about earlier, some restoration going on here at Hamilton GNCC, as they've removed some sand bunkers. They've added some yardage to try to keep up with modern technology. And I'm really fascinated to see how it is going to play, because Ross, I feel like some people, when they saw Rory in that winning score of minus 21 or minus 22, or I think it was minus 22, they assume that this is a birdie fest. This is not a birdie fest, even though it played at 6,800 yards in 2019 and is only going to play at right around 7,100 yards this year. It doesn't usually play that way. No other player reached minus 15 the year that Rory won in 2019. And I do think this golf course is going to be a little bit more pesky than people expect for similar reasons to what we saw last week. They're tight fairways, tree line fairways, bringing in natural elements there. The rough, it sounds like, is going to be 4 inches long. So it's going to be brutal if you're not hitting fairways. And the greens are super small. Some of the smaller green complexes we're seeing on the PGA Tour, they removed some of those sand bunkers around the greens to make it a little bit more tricky there. And they have runoff areas around the greens. So those are also a little bit trickier typically for PGA Tour players because they can't get the loft that they want and get under those shots like they can sometimes out of the rough. So I'm really curious to see how this thing is going to play. I kind of figure it can be a mix of 2 things, Ross, in terms of the players that I'm going to attack. Fairways, greens, make putts. That is one recipe. And all 10 of the top 10 finishers here in 2019 gained strokes putting on the week. That was really the big way that people separated themselves at this course. But also, I do think it can be overpowered a little bit if you have the right skill set. And that's because, shout out to Rick Gayman, who actually went through a great sky view of all the holes. If you're able to carry your driver about 310, you're going to be able to get over sand bunkers and you're going to be able to drive the shit out of the ball and cut down on some angles. So if Rory has his A game with his wedges and his driving ability, this sets up to be another potential Rory runaway. But if he's not able to do that, I do think some plotters and some guys who putt really well have an opportunity here. Some of the guys that finished in the top 10 last time we were here in 2019, Matt Kuchar, Brandt Snedeker, guys who don't hit the ball a long way but make it up in other areas. So especially because we haven't seen this course since the restoration. We haven't seen it in 5 years. There's a lot of guessing going involved, but I'm really interested to see how this thing is going to play this week. And I'm still having a little bit of a tough time because of that. And also the lines on some of these guys. I told Ross this before recording. This is like the ugliest odds board I've ever seen. I have not been this less intrigued to bet on a golf tournament in a long, long time. So, Ross, at this point in time, I legit don't have anything in yet. And I don't think I've ever, at least since me and you have been doing this show since the start of the year, I haven't ever come on a show on Monday or Tuesday and not had a single bet in. But that's what I'm at right now. I got nothing, my friend. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you announce the 5 or 6 picks that you have this week.
Yeah. So I went with the second shot approach putters. I'm going to go with, I'm hoping for my sake that this course is the great equalizer where you don't have to be a bomber to win this event. One of the course similarities that I read through, and immediately it drove me down one of those rabbit hole paths. One of the courses this is going to play similar to, it's got a lot of comps to Royal Troon.
Yep. And sorry to interrupt you. The guy who Royal Liverpool, oh no, just kidding. It's not Royal Troon. Royal Point Rush and Royal Liverpool was restored by the same guy.
Yeah. So I went down the Royal Troon rabbit hole, and to kick off the top of the board, we got Tommy Ladd at 16. He's due. He's due. He should have won this last year.
Don't fucking remind me, because I had him. And listen, this was the end of me and Mr. Tommy Fleetwood right here. Okay, it's not that he didn't pull it out. It's how he played that 18th hole in regulation, Ross. It is a 499-yard par 5. I play longer par 5s. All Tommy had to do was birdie it to win. And he lays up. Lays up. Nope. Done. It's under 20-1. Not for me. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Tommy broke my heart last year.
Well, it was between that or me picking Rory at plus 350. So I'm gonna take Tommy and say that Tommy Ladd finally gets it done.
I hope he does. I hope he does. He is more than due.
He quite literally just might be the next person that we all just sit and go like, just let him win. Someone purposely miss a putt on 18. Just let him win.
For real. It's getting out of hand.
From there, we're gonna move a little bit further down the board. Someone that, if he can give me 4 days is all I'm asking. I have Shane Lowry at 22-1.
See, okay, I think this is a good course for Shane, and he's coming off. Well, this can kind of go both ways, however you want to argue it. Amazing putting performance last time out at the PGA Championship, right? And that's always his Achilles heel. If you go look at his stat makeup this year, not very good on the greens for Mr. Shane Lowry. My concern, can he make enough putts on Sunday? That's just my concern. Yep. I love Shane Lowry. 22-1 odds in this field, though, is not bad.
Then I'm just asking, give me 4 days. 4 days, and he can get it done. That's all we're looking for, 4 days. From there, same odds. Just, I looked through some models and some other literature trying to figure out, sneakily just hanging in there. Been really good with the irons and on the green lately. Sam Burns 22-1.
Yeah, maybe the most fair number in this entire field. And outside of Rory, like, he's the only guy that I think, I don't know if players would necessarily like fear him or something, but like, no, he's got that winning pedigree in the final group to go toe to toe with. And 28-1 is or 25, 22, 20, anything in the 20s, quite honestly, is, I think, fair winning equity for Sam Burns in a tournament of this. He is someone that I'm definitely flirting around. There's obviously putting upside. I referenced how crucial that was to finishing in the top 10 here in 2019. So you want guys that can roll the rock well on Sunday. And like some of the other guys in this range, Cameron Young, Corey Connors, sorry to do it, but even Shane Lowry, I trust Sam Burns to putt better on Sunday in contention than all of those guys.
If I did a deep dive on Sam, and the irons and the putting have just consistently gotten better the past several weeks that he's going out there. I think he's moved in the top 15 in putting on the tour casually over like the past 6 weeks now. So I think the course lays out really well for him, where if he can just putt like he's been putting, don't be surprised to see Sam towards the top of the board on going into Sunday. And like you said, the winning pedigree, he's already got it. I think with this field, that's a nice little setup for him.
I agree.
From there, going to go a little bit further down. It's the Canadian Open. You have to throw a Canadian in there somewhere. I do have Taylor Pendrith at 50.
Love it. Actually, one of my guys I've been looking at, I think the one concern about Taylor Pendrith is like his irons actually haven't really been that good. Like even when he won, he lost strokes to the field with his irons, but the putting upside is definitely there, and he can just mash the shit out of the golf ball, man. I think like if his driver's on, he certainly has the power to have the profile, like I mentioned, where you carry those bunkers, you find a lot of fairways, and you leave yourself wedge shots. You're going to be hitting a lot of greens probably, and the way he fills it up, yeah, I like Taylor Pendrith.
And I don't know if you've really noticed, but since his win, ever since he's won, he's been playing just on a way different level, where it's like, oh, I'm a real boy now.
Yeah, like, I think he's just healthy too. I think he talked about that, getting healthier and whatnot. It really seems like it.
Just healthy, and I think the confidence that he's already won. That box is checked off, so away we go. Where I just like that number. I like, you always throw in the play in the Canadian Open, Canadian in the Canadian Open, but his game matches up here, and I thought that was a fair number. Going way further down, I do have Seamus Power at 80-1.
Yeah, I've heard some people on Seamus this week. Kind of the plotter path, hits his wedges really well. Where did he win? He won, was it the RSM? I know he won during the fall, but anyways, it's a course where you hit a lot of wedges. This could be a course where he hits a lot of wedges, a lot of proximity, because there's 9 par 4s that are shorter than 450 yards. You're going to be hitting a lot of wedges in, and he's got putting upside. So yeah, I've heard a lot of people on Seamus this week. I like it.
And that's kind of the route I was going for these last two, including Seamus. I had more of the great equalizer, that this course could be the equalizer, where not necessarily someone that mashes, just if everything else is, if you can just hit your shots, don't be surprised to see someone like Seamus at the top of the board going into Sunday and in contention. And from there, we have my longest of the long shots, but actually really high on all around in a lot of models. Bryce Garnett at 150 to 1 plays out really high in a lot of models, and a lot of people were mentioning is a flyer play that just this type of course in his game, when he's on and can put 4 days together, that he's the type of player that can play this type of course really well. And I think you have to include a little bit more that he did win an alternate field event already this year. So he's got the big W out of the way for the year. He got the momentum. And ever since then, he's actually been really solid. And he's been gaining like 6 strokes on the field on the green the past couple weeks.
Yeah, he rated out really well in my model. I want to say he might have been 9th in my model this week. So I like the Bryce Garnett shout. Absolutely from a little bit down the board. I see him as big as 170 to 1 right now. If anyone out there has any interest at all. Is that do it for your card this week though, Ross?
Yep, that is it. We will see who can come through on this card. It'd be great to get one prior to Memorial.
No, it would absolutely get the mojo going. And Memorial's one of my favorite tournaments of the year. Then we got the US Open after that. Obviously, it's 3 huge weeks of golf. The Travelers the week after as well. As I mentioned, though, I don't have anything in right now. I'll tell you where I'm leaning, though. Sahith. Just a lot of putting upside there. Probably the second best player in this field right now with the way that he's been playing all year long, man. Feels like it could be a spot for him. And I've also just been on Sahith all year. I'm a Sahith stan. I do like Sam Burns as well. He's someone I'm circling. But dude, the rest of these odds just don't do it for me. Like Aaron Rise bet down to 35 to 1. Like Mackenzie Hughes at 35 to 1.
Two gloves, sorry.
Like, dude, all these guys, like Davis Thompson at 50, like the numbers I genuinely think are fair. Pendrith, 55, I think is fair. Even Nick Taylor, 65 to 1 is fair. He's playing like garbage right now, and it's going to be a lot for him to go back to back. He's going to have a lot of like media obligations this week and whatnot, but that's a fair number. I think you can make an argument that Nick Taylor has the fairest number here along with Sam Burns. So I thought those were interesting. I've heard love for all 3 of these guys this week: Ben Griffin, Mac Meisner, and Mark Hubbard. So those are names I'm flirting around. I don't hate even Matt Wallace. And I did hear this shout from Andy Lack when I was listening to his podcast this morning, and I was pissed that I wasn't able to get out here and say it first. I like Eric Cole this week. I know he hasn't been up to basically any good since he choked on a fat haunch at the Cog when everyone was on him. I think this is a good Eric Cole spot. Lots of wedges. If he can hit fairways, like that's literally it. Off the tee, he needs to hit fairways, putting upside galore, iron upside, even though it hasn't been as consistent. So he's someone that I've been looking at. And then just some shouts for bombs, because I could get on a couple. You referenced Bryce Garnett. That's actually a play I really like this week. Robbie Shelton. I was impressed with what I saw out of him along with Tony Finau when I watched him on Saturday, even though it kind of went off the rails there. That day was super tough, and I still think 171 is a pretty fair number for Robbie Shelton. And I just passed this guy's name, Ross, and I got to give him a shout-out on the pod here real quick. Camilo Villegas, dude. Oh, my God. Does that guy have the most swag I've ever seen in my entire life?
Absolutely.
Dude, the popped collar in person, I'm not kidding. He was the coolest guy I've ever seen. The coolest guy I've ever seen. And I saw him for maybe 2 seconds. With that being said, I'm not going to bet on him this week. One shout that I did want to give from super long, and where was it? And I don't think it's as crazy as the odds suggest it to be. Ches Reavie. Ches Reavie 400 to 1. These are like Ches Reavie jams. Wedges, putting, go and hit fairways. Him at 400 and Kelly Craft at 350. Both those guys rated top 20 in my model this week. So those are kind of the names that I'm hovering around right here, right now. Again, I don't have anything finalized, but I will have my article coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be doing some deeper digging here tonight. But honestly, I might be a little underexposed this week, man. Like I might just take some flyers because like I referenced, I really don't like any of these odds and I'm not going to force it if there's nothing I really like out there. So maybe it just winds up being one of those weeks where I take a couple of bombs, throw some flyers, and save some Skrilla going into Memorial. We'll see where I wind up going. I'll make sure to let you all know. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for where at least I want to go with my card this week. Ross, before we get on out of here, you got anything else you want to shout, brother? I think we basically covered everything, though.
I do not. I think we pretty much covered everything, and on to the weekend we go.
On to the weekend we go. I wish you better luck than Tommy Fleetwood gave me on the 18th on fucking Sunday last year. I could and missed 2 birdie putts in the first 3 playoff holes, and then Nick Taylor sinks a fucking 72-footer, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe this is actually happening. So I wish you better luck on old Tommy Lad than I had last week, Ross. Best of luck this week with the rest of your card. Best of luck to everyone out there who's placing some wagers down on this week's RBC Canadian Open. And by the way, if you're not already a member over at Bet Rivers, make sure go and use our promo code ONTAP. You'll get up to a $250 match on your first deposit. Ross, as always, though, really good show. Really enjoyed this one, brother. We had a lot to get to, and I think we touched on it all perfectly. Thank you again to everyone who joined, and make sure, if you haven't done so already, go and follow Golf on Tap on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It's not going to cost you nothing, not even a nickel, not even a pretty penny. That way you can support us, which we greatly appreciate. And if you're not able to catch up with us live, see who we're liking, who's going to be on our betting card for the week, you can still go and tune into all of the episodes. So make sure to go and follow Golf on Tap on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may be listening to your podcasts. From Jack Bushman and Ross Baran, thank you all again for tuning in. Crack 'em, lock 'em. We'll see you next week. Great stretch of golf coming up. Memorial, U.S. Open in the Travelers. Summer golf is here, baby.